Hi, welcome to the Perspectives in Rural Education podcast. I'm your host, Ethan Holmeyer, and today we have Paul Penrod with us. He is a math teacher at the Martinsville Junior High School, Senior High School, sorry. And I'll have him start off with introducing himself.
Like I said, my name is Paul Penrod. I've been teaching here at Martinsville for 19 years now. I think this is my 20th year starting here now. So before that, I did a lot of subbing. I'd worked on a master's degree. Let me back up a little bit. I actually had been a teacher for part of a year. I'd graduated in December from Eastern one year and got a job right away at a school, and then didn't really enjoy it. And so thought I'd go back and get another degree. Then came out of that and couldn't get placed right away, so I went back into teaching and kind of fell back in love with it. So, and then this job came open up in my field, so I, applied for it, got it, and I've been here ever since. So,
Awesome. How long have you been working here?
this will be my 20th year here. So, uh, wearing several different hats, but yeah, been been fun to grow with the other staff, and then see the new ones, and then see them go, and then also hear how they're doing at other places. So you kind of become a whole family of teachers, not even all inside the same building anymore, but I don't know, you kind of start to see this. I guess they call it networking now, but it's almost more of a familial thing. When you see each other, at whatever restaurant you go to, you're kind of all start catching up on old times, whatever, and comparing notes about how things are going now. So yeah.
I think that's great. Just kind of all it's a way to get close together as not only I'm guessing as like a faculty, but almost like you use the word familiar because it's kind of like a family system.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's because it's more than. I mean, certainly you talk a lot about the kids because that's kind of what we focus our lives on. But you also talk about your own life, your own personal struggles, and your own personal family and how that's going. So just I don't know, a real camaraderie among the like-minded people, I guess.
I think that's great. So you teach math, right?
Most of the time, yes. I do teach a few other subjects too, because in a small school you wear many hats. So
So
go ahead.
no, you go on.
Okay. Well, my I started out in college as a math major, and then decided partway through, well, three-fourths of the way through, that I wasn't feeling it anymore. So probably had some study habit skills that need to be improved that didn't. So I ended up switching over to industrial arts, which was another thing that I truly enjoyed. So I got my degree in that, my first degree, and then got a job in that field. And so uh, skip forward ahead 15 years or so, or 12 years. Uh, the we had done some shifting of staff around here and trying to consolidate some jobs, and so I expressed some interest in being able to teach the drafting class, and then, if as the schedule allowed, some other classes. So I did a short stint in some cabinet making with kids, just trying to see them in a different light, and they see me in a different light, but also just trying to give kids as many opportunities as they can to see as many different avenues for possible careers that they can. So, and then in addition to that, through another degree I'd gotten some interest in public speaking, and so I went back and got another degree in communication. So I also teach speech now here at the high school. So, and that's
Oh
been,
wow.
yeah, it was funny doing the program because I was the only math major in the speech program. They don't get a lot of overlap there, but for me, it's been really good, just so that kids see me in a different light, that I'm not just the number cruncher, but I'm truly interested in just communicating and how that fits into problem solving. So I guess it's probably one of the nice things that you start to see, with some of those different disciplines going on there. You start to see, they get to see you in different lights, more than just in the math classroom, doing the quadratic formula.
So you have a lot of going. You have a lot going on. A lot of your hands in a lot of different places.
Yes.
I bet that's probably keeps you busy, but it's also probably kind of fun. I would assume.
Uh,
Assume.
uh, I, I hear teachers that teach like one subject or two subjects all day long. I don't know how I could do that. I mean, I really have to. I mean, there are disadvantages to it. Don't get me wrong. It's not, but I can't imagine another way. I mean, it's uh, you're truly just go go go, and at the end of the day you're done. But uh, it's usually a pretty enjoyable day doing it that way, for me at least.
I can imagine. I mean, I don't know what it's like, but I can assume that it's pretty great. Um, I know you briefly talked about what degrees you got, but is there anything else you want to talk about in regards of like your journey to become a rural educator in Martinsville?
Well, I grew up actually not too far away from here. Honestly, for living as close as I did, I didn't know a whole lot about Martinsville. Uh, so I guess I can remember when I was in high school and having the same math teacher, year after year, and how that was kind of, they got to see you grow. And so for me, that was really part of the draw for it, I guess, to be a rural educator is, you don't get a expertise so much in one area. I don't get to study just one subject of math and kind of and get more and more, interesting labs or whatever in it. I mean, you try to, find one here and there and go to the professional developments that you can. But what you miss in that part, you make up for in that you see kids. I mean, if they're one of the smarter kids, I could have them 4 years of high school. And there's a lot that changes in a kid, not just physically. I mean, I can remember one kid when he started with me, I looked down on him, and by the time he graduated from here, he was having to bend down to hear me talk to him because he had grown like 2 feet over that time. But also just seeing, their mental growth. I mean, you get to, and you think to yourself, you played a small part in how they now are a problem solver or how they interact with society. You've helped them grow into that person that they are. I mean, you're certainly not the only one, but you've had a part in that. And so probably the biggest thing for me about being a rural educator is that you truly get to see kids develop. I mean, they're not, rarely do I have a kid for 1 year. Uh, so I almost always get to see at least 2 or 3 years of growth with students. And so that's, to me, that's the biggest plus is that, they get to know you better, just through the random conversations you have, and you get to know them a little better. And, and I think for me, that kind of helps you stick later in life, when you see them, they still remember you. You weren't just one of their teachers because you were one of the very few they had. So like I said, there's certainly drawbacks to it, but to me, the pluses are, just seeing all that really makes that really worthwhile.
You need to really know the students a lot better in like a one-on-one
Absolutely.
basis rather than just another student because there's so many students.
Absolutely. I mean, uh, I've had kids that I've had them house sit for me because when you get to know them, and so when we were gone for a week's vacation, whatever, I asked them to stop by because I knew them, and they could trust me and I could trust them. So uh, I actually, a couple of them graduated and then they helped me roof my house. So,
Oh,
so
wow.
I mean, part of that, just that small town culture is that, so you see them, they see you, you're sometimes at their house helping fix something of theirs. So, like I said, it's just that you get a lot more of that community development, not just, it's my job that they learn, how to factor a quadratic uh, problem. I mean, you really see a lot more, and you get a lot more opportunities to have that bonding there.
I think that's great. It's much more holistic than
Yeah,
just.
absolutely. Yes.
um so again, you touched on this a little bit. But wanted to ask, what is it like teaching in a rural school? What do you enjoy, and what are some of the challenges?
Well, what I enjoyed, like I said, is just seeing the year after year overlap, and sometimes, I mean, hour after hour. I mean, there was a student I had last year. I asked her one time, I said, "Do I see you more than your parents see you in a day?" Because I had her, including our tutorial time, I had her 4 periods a day. So, I mean, I saw her a lot.
Wow.
So, yeah, we got to know each other. So stuff like that, and so when I see her, I mean, there's already, some trust there and some, we know who each other is, and and that stuff. So certainly a lot of that. I guess on the other side of it, though, when you have a rough kid, they're rough, not, it's not just the one and done. You get your 1 year with them, and then you get to pass them on to the next person. They're yours next year. And so I guess I kind of hold you a little more accountable. I need them to be ready for the next step of math, and I'm the next step of math they have to take. So I have to get them ready for me. So I need them to be, it falls back to me even to for their next step. Even so, uh, the downside, like I said earlier, is that it is hard to specialize a little more. I mean, I'm sure there are great labs out there that we're not being exposed to as much because of just lack of time to go find those things and to do those, and even set up time. I mean, if I'm only going to be able to have the class once in a day, it's hard to justify setting up an experiment that's going to take 2 hours of setup for a 40-minute class period, and then no one else is going to see it that day. So I mean, there's a lot of negotiating there, but with your time, because you certainly are a little more spread out. But I mean, there's pluses and minuses to everything we do in life, and so and that's kind of some of that's chosen for you. You get 24 hours to do what you want to do, and so when you have X number of classes, different classes to teach, you have to make sure that you at least know what you're going to be talking about each of those classes. So there's some give and take there.
Okay. Well, I mean, it seems like definitely one of the best parts, as you said, is just you get to see these people through their entire high school career. It seems like
Absolutely.
you see them grow through everything.
Yeah, and I mean, and that goes through, I mean, through the happy events, I mean, there's always the homecomings and the proms and whatnot, but I mean, life happens. I mean, for a small town, we've experienced some tragedies, which I know every town does. And so, you're there to help talk with them about that, either as a group or, sometimes even individually, but just trying to help them work through, how do you make sense of what we're seeing? And I mean, even going through the pandemic, that was,
Mm-hmm.
it was rough, but I mean, it was good that you knew these kids, and so they knew you. I mean, some people think, when that March 15th or whatever day that was, where the governor said schools remote the rest of the year, and all of a sudden teachers are scrambling. That was
Mm-hmm.
a rough few days there. I mean, thinking, I'm sending these kids home and we're not done, and I'm not sure how we're going to get done. And the way it happened, it was impossible to get it done. So you tried to make some lemonade out of the lemons you were given, but that was emotionally difficult. I mean, at least for me as a teacher, I mean, there are not many things that get to me, you know, harshly that way, but that one was a hard thing. And because you're thinking, these are the children that I've been pouring into, some for 6 months and some for 3 years and 6 months, and now we're all of a sudden we're just done. And we're going to try to do some stuff over Google Classroom or remote learning, but it was, I mean, we were still in the infancy of it. So uh, and just those life events that happen is, and I don't know, it's a neat thing to work with them, and like I said, and having that relationship already built, that you can kind of, they hear you a little better, I think.
I will say I give you and all the other teachers and educators a lot of credit for being able to deal with that last minute. Oh, we're not going back into school. Like I couldn't imagine what that must have been like.
Yeah, 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 it was emotionally. I mean, I think some people looked at it as, well, teachers all of a sudden got an extra 3-month vacation. It was 3 months of, I mean, I've never worked harder,
Mm-hmm.
because for me, again, being in a small school, if a kid sent me an email at 10:30 at night because they were working on a math problem, I mean, I would answer them, because I thought, this kid's working right now on math. I want him to, or her to, know the next step. So I mean, I instantly would try to get, either typing math is very difficult. So a lot of times I would do a math problem on a legal pad, take a picture of it and send it to them, and with a couple of notes with it. But I wanted them to, to have that right now, because, I mean, there's next steps coming in life. And, so if you're trying to get there, I want to help you get there as much as I can from where we currently are. So it was not an extra 3-month vacation I think some people thought we had, because the hours all of a sudden became, there weren't hours, it was just opportunities. And so, yeah, at 8 a.m. you didn't have to do anything, quote unquote, but 10:30 at night you were doing something. And then at 7:30 in the morning someone might text you, or the email might actually come through with a picture on it. So yeah, it was but yeah, just getting through life with them, and living that together, that was, I don't know, that's probably the biggest thing.
But hey, we all got through it, right? You got through it.
Absolutely. And glad to be back.
Oh yeah, I bet. It bet to be great to be back in person.
Yes.
You mentioned that you grew up in a town near Martinsville. Is it safe for me to assume that was also a rural community?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was Kansas. It's 17 miles north. And so, I mean, there was some, I wasn't a big sports person. I mean, I played football, but I wasn't really big into the rivalries or whatever. I mean, I just enjoyed the sport. So there wasn't as much rivalries there. And I mean, and Kansas had rivalries, but again, I would just play football. And so so I knew where Martinsville was, but all the rivalries that were going on around them, I had no ideas about. So
Well, I wanted to ask, what was it like for you as a student going through a rural school? Like what was that experience like for you?
uh, I never knew how blessed I was until I was in college. And uh, when I was at Kansas years ago, we had 3 English teachers that I think their average tenure there was over 20 years. I mean, a lot of the kids' parents had the same teacher, so you could complain about that term paper you're going to write, but your parents wrote the same paper. So I mean, you just knew it was coming from your 7th grade year. You knew certain things were going to happen because they had such a stability there in the English department. So I mean, my English teacher of the 6 years of junior high and high school, I had her 5 of the 6 years. Her nickname was Ma because we saw her more than we saw our mothers.
Wow.
So we would just kind of start to call her Ma. And and I can remember one of my favorite memories of high school was your senior term paper was due on some day, let's say March 1st, but at midnight. So some of us took her up on it. And so we saw her that night at the basketball game, whatever night it was. And she looked at me and she said, "You ready to turn your paper in yet?" And I said, "No, I'm still working on it." And so a bunch of us got in a car after the basketball game and went to her house. And she knew we were coming, so she ordered pizzas for us. And so this she was an elderly lady. She's passed now, but uh, she ordered pizzas for us. We all turned in our papers, and then we just sat around and talked kind of about where we are, where we're planning on going, to college, and what we're thinking about doing. And she just talked to us and spoke into us quite a bit about just good things to us. And that just always stuck out to me as that's something that I learned a bunch from. I mean, not just relationally, but I can honestly say that my college experiences in English, I didn't have to learn anything new because my high school prepared me for it. And so, and again, because she knew from 7th grade through senior year, she knew what we had learned because she taught it to us. So, she could build on her own stuff. And so I just thought that was, a huge deal. And so probably one of the hardest struggles though anymore for any school is just this continuity. I mean, having a teacher stay somewhere for that long is unheard of, much less an entire department. So we're seeing less and less of it. But I was grateful for it, and I try to live somewhat in that way, that there's this that there is a high demand for them. It's not just we're relational and whatever. There's still this high demand, but they know that you're demanding it because you actually care about them and what their
Hmm.
next steps are, and you're trying to get them there. So
I think that's really incredible. Like that, the story with the going to the teacher's house and they're ordering pizza. That's pretty cool.
yeah, it was neat. And honestly, I think the rule came about because of my sister's class. Tells you how long ago it was. They actually had the floppy disks, and
Hmm.
hers had a error come up on it because they always seem to have errors. And so she spent the day they were due. She spent staying home all day typing it again because it was due that day. So she's always said, they're not due at 3 o'clock; they're due at midnight. So
Hmm.
bring them to the house. And so that's what we did.
I think that's awesome. Um, I wanted to ask you, as an educator, as a rural educator, educator in general, um, what would you say is like your goal or your mission as an educator? Like what do you want to accomplish?
Uh, I think probably just as an educator in general. So I don't know if this would, but when I see kids 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I want them to look at me and say, "You got me ready for what I wanted to do," and whatever that is. I mean, I teach upper level math. I know there's a plethora of jobs that do not need anybody that knows how to factor a quadratic or whatever, or work with, a binomials or trinomials. So, uh, but did they also learn problem solving skills? And did they learn a work ethic that will transfer over into whatever job they want to do? So I hope they can see me, and I hope I made a good impression on them. They're just happy to see me, but more importantly that they are a functioning member of society that's contributing and making their own way in life. So I guess in a rural community you see that a lot more, and you feel probably a lot more of the weight on you because you know I mean in our high school there's 10 or 12 teachers total. So I mean that's it. So it's on us. So, and you got to figure out if you're not teaching that lesson, which department is. So, uh, it's you can't just say, well, they're going to do that next year. Well, you're still their teacher next year. So
Hmm.
uh, it puts I think, a lot more weight on you, but it also, I think, gives you a little more, you can take a little more pride in what they've accomplished. I mean, they certainly do it themselves, but you've been a part of helping them become the person they are.
Yeah, and like you're helping guide them in a way.
Yes, yes. Yeah,
Wow,
I've
I
had,
think.
it was funny. I had one student that she actually goes to church with me and was not a strong math student, but her dad was telling me that she was going to date someone and she quoted dating advice that I gave in class. And I don't remember saying it, but it stuck into her. Now, could she, write a proof about vertical angles? No, but like I said, it's that other stuff. It's those small random conversations that just stuck with her. And it seemed like they were thankful that that she had some guidance about what she should be looking for in a guy.
Wow.
So yeah, just that. It is said, I couldn't even tell you what I said, but they said, Penrod gave us that advice one time. I'm like, I don't remember what I said to her, but okay, I'll take it. If it's good. If it's not good, I didn't say it. I deny everything. So
So it's students are always listening, even when you don't think they are.
almost the flip of what you want them to. When you want them to, they're not hearing anything. When you say something quietly under your breath, they hear that perfectly. So
It always works out like that.
yeah.
Well, that's all the questions I have, unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about or share about you or Martinsville.
I think that's about it. I feel like I've poured it all out there. So yeah, no, I appreciate it. Like I said, rural schools. I don't know. There seems to be a you know opinion out there, or some that it's the stepping stone to the next thing. To get to the big school. So you only have to teach one class. And like I said, I couldn't imagine repeating myself that many times in a day. I mean, there's just, I don't know. And I like to see how they all tie together too. And I think when you're doing all of them, you can kind of build those bridges a little better. And you can even say, if you don't understand this, third hour just covered this stuff. So you can go ask one of those guys if you have a friend over there, because again, small school, everybody. So it doesn't mean you like everybody, but you know everybody, so you can talk to them if you have to.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I don't, I couldn't imagine going to. I mean, I've had plenty of calls and offers saying, if you apply, we can get you in here. And I can't imagine doing it differently. So
Well, I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing your story. I really do appreciate it.
okay, well, thank you. I'm glad to always share.
Thank you.
All right, have a good day.
You too.